My name is Curtis Slagle, and I'm the project manager and marine turtle permit holder for the Broward County Sea Turtle Conservation Program. And today I'm going to be talking about one of our local resident sea turtles that you can find off the coast of Florida, that one being the Hawksbill Sea Turtle. The Hawksbill will dwell within subtropical oceanic climates within the Pacific, Indian, and Atlantic Ocean. They will essentially follow their food source, so they prefer shallow depths and those warmer waters where corals will thrive. Hawksbills are not considered to be the largest sea turtle species out there. They would be kind of right in the middle. They get to be about 100 to 200 pounds and anywhere from 2.5 to 3 feet in length when they are adults. So definitely not as big as some of our loggerheads, greens, and leatherbacks, but not the smallest turtle out there as well. The Hawksbill is an omnivorous sea turtle. It actually likes to eat pretty much anything it can get its mouth on, anything from sea urchins and jellyfish to fish, crustaceans, and algae. That being said, the preferred delicacy of the Hawksbill, the thing that they're always going to go for, is going to be the sponge. Now I know what you're thinking, the sponge doesn't sound like a very delicious treat, but for the Hawksbill it works. Within the sponge there's a symbiotic relationship with a lot of microorganisms, and rather than trying to extract those microorganisms from the sponge, the Hawksbill just eats the whole thing. Saves them time, saves them energy. And the interesting thing about that is that this is kind of where the Hawksbill gets its name. The Hawksbill, its mouth or its beak, comes to a pretty sharp point in the shape of a V, which resembles that of our birds of prey. Therefore, Hawksbill. And they'll use that beak to really get into some of those tight, hard to reach crevices within the coral reef to extract those sponges. Now, although the Hawksbill enjoys subtropical climates, they don't actually nest throughout that entire range. So for example, in Florida, we rarely will see a nest pop up on our beaches, and it's almost exclusively going to be South Florida and the Keys for those very small number of nests that we may see. Instead, the Hawksbill will go a little bit further south. They enjoy to nest in places like Cuba, maybe Panama, Mexico. They've also been known to nest in Hawaii, along Australia, as well as other islands in Indonesia. When you want to consider the United States, they do like to nest in some of the U.S. territories like Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So they're pretty much enjoying a lot of more isolated, more Caribbean, warmer climates for their nesting. The Hawksbill is pretty unique relative to the other species due to some anatomical features. One of the main ones is going to be the fact that all of its flippers have 2 claws. All the other species only have one, so this is a unique feature of the Hawksbill. The other sort of eye-catching feature of the Hawksbill is actually its carapace right here. We can see that the design on that carapace is pretty intricate. It's arguably the most beautiful of all the sea turtle shells. And we'll also notice that along the center, those vertebral scutes, they are imbricated, meaning that they overlap. So this feature, unfortunately, has, as we'll see, kind of led to the demise of the Hawksbill sea turtle over the last couple hundred years. Now, like most sea turtle species, the Hawksbill could be doing better. On a sort of local level with the United States and the state of Florida, the Hawksbill is listed as endangered. But if you go international, the Hawksbill is listed as critically endangered. And this is primarily due to the tortoiseshell trade industry. Over the last couple hundred years, turtles have been harvested for their shells, for meat, and for eggs, but because of that very beautiful carapace that the Hawksbill has, it's been hit a little bit harder than others. And up until 1993, the trade industry was actually okay. It was legal in some of those foreign countries. So some estimates believe that this trade has brought down the population millions over the last few hundred years. So one thing that you can do to specifically help the Hawksbill is that if you ever visit some of these foreign countries and you're visiting local shops, if you happen to see any jewelry, any hair pieces or pieces of art that might resemble a hawksbill shell, it's possible that that's where they got that material from, and you're going to want to avoid shopping at that location. Now, like all other sea turtle species, they are susceptible to things like boat strikes and bycatch, as well as loss of habitat. As I mentioned, the hawksbills like to feed on sponges, which thrive in coral reefs, so anything that contributes to climate change and the warming of the waters can ultimately lead to the decline of their food source, and therefore the decline of the hawksbill. So pretty much doing your part to reduce your impact on the planet will overall help the hawksbill sea turtle. There are a lot of things that you can do to help our hawksbill sea turtles as well as other sea turtles. A couple of the big ones would be sort of how you are handling your day-to-day life. So kind of reducing the amount of plastic that you're incorporating into the environment, going more towards the reusable route rather than single-use plastics and things like that. But also trying to do things that are going to help out our coral reefs. So maybe be a little more careful while boating so you don't strike any coral reefs or strike any hawksbills that are coming to the surface to breathe. You can also do things, if you're living along the coast, you can try to avoid your lighting impact, because like all other sea turtles, hawksbills are susceptible to disorientation. So if we do get a few nests that pop up on our Florida beaches, the last thing we want to do is have the hatchlings emerge from the nest and go the wrong way. As I mentioned before, if you're visiting foreign countries, please avoid shopping at any businesses that may be selling illegally harvested goods from the hawksbill sea turtle. And just generally speaking, spreading this knowledge to other people is a key component in being able to help this species recover.